Good morning. It's time for another edition of the pre-market PulseScan with yours truly, the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous PulseWave price trigger reports that we put in your hands each and every trading day. All right, let's jump it off because things are jumping off. So let's kick it off. Dow futures down 320 points at 28,092. NASDAQ 100 is down 184 and a quarter points at 11,789 and three quarters. E-mini S&P 500 down 41 and a quarter points at 3439 and three quarters. Russell My Hustle down 17.9 points at 1601.7. Bitcoin futures composite index is up 35, trading at 11,445. Nat gas up 14 cents at $2.78, getting closer to that $3 mark. Crude oil down a whopping $1.52 a barrel, trading at $39.52. Long bond down 18.30 seconds at 175 and 30 seconds. Gold futures down $11 at 1896.30, and silver down 64 cents at 23.75. Euro dollar is off 58 pips at 117.08. Pound sterling off 115 pips at 129.13. Aussie dollar down 103 pips at 70.64. US dollar index up 45 at 93.84. Soybeans getting smoked, down 12 and three quarter points at 10.43 half. Ouch. Corn down 1 point at 3.95 half, and wheat wheat is up 2 at 5.98 and three quarters. All right, so that's a snapshot of overnight markets. I don't know what to tell you, man. If you ain't taking advantage of the free Forex week that we're having at PulseWaveTrading.com, what are you doing with your life? You are missing out. You're missing out on some nice moves in these markets. The pound sterling down 117. The Aussie down 104. Really? You just gonna let all that money just walk away from you? You're not even trying to take advantage of it? Really? Hey, that's on y'all, man. I don't know what to tell you. You can lead the camel to the water, but you can't make them drink. Nah, you can't, man. You can't make them drink. You can't make them drink. But if you're thirsty enough, at some point, you will drink. Just hopefully that it won't be too late for you when you decide to do what you need to do. All right. So with that being said, let's take a look at this overnight news. And right now we got almost 900,000 Americans filed for first-time jobless benefits last week. But California chaos continues. And right there is your opening bell. If you need to move stops, lock in some profit, anybody that was short coming into this morning in the U.S. stock index futures, you probably want to tighten up those stops. You may even want to think about taking profit. I did. I don't play around. If I wake up in the morning and I see money on the table, I'm grabbing it. And that's exactly what I did. Don't hate me, player. Hate the game. But that's how we roll. All right, so this jobless benefits came out this morning. 898,000 Americans filed for first-time jobless claims last week, which is well above the previous week's 845,000, and much worse than the 825,000 expected. This is the biggest rise in claims in 8 weeks. That's the bad news. The good news is that continuing claims dropped notably week over week to their lowest since March. Indiana, Illinois, and Massachusetts saw the biggest increase in jobless claims last week. Michigan, Alabama, and Oklahoma saw the biggest drop. So that's the reported data. Do with it what you will, depending on your agenda, but bear in mind that it is practically useless noise given the fact that issues with data from California, the most populous state, continue to remain frozen as they deal with the massive fraud that permeated their unemployment rolls. Yeah, according to Bloomberg, California's initial jobless claims makes up more than a quarter of the national total. So be careful when judging the weekly totals for now. Yeah. But speaking of California, did you know that Hollywood is dying and the elites don't care? Yeah, straight up. You know, geopolitics and economics are the great driving force in our society at the moment, and the elitist groups that influence these elements should be our primary focus. That said, I have to admit that pop culture is a pervasive element of American public psychology, or at least it was until recently. And for decades, the masters of pop culture all reside in Hollywood. That's a no-brainer. That has been a no-brainer. We already knew that. But let's be honest. Okay, if you analyze the business model of the casting couch of Hollywood, you can see things a little bit more clearly. You know that there is massive slimy behavior going on in Hollywood. Okay. And you know, the entertainment world is designed for a very specific purpose, and that is to steal the energies of talented people and exploit those energies to achieve the most meaningless or manipulative endeavors. The people that manage and own production and distribution companies are, for the most part, talentless. Like most of the narcopaths, they have no capacity to be creative. So they must feed on the intelligence and imagination of normal people in order to fuel their business. If it stopped there, then maybe the system would actually work and there could be some symbiosis. But many artistic people don't handle business very well, so someone has to, right? And that's across the board, not just Hollywood. Talented people, especially those we consider geniuses in their lanes, in their given lanes, normally don't really care about business or have very little energy toward it. They just want to be great in their craft, whether it be rapping, singing, dancing, acting, whatever, composing music, whatever. But see, production, they want more than money. Those producers want more than money. They also want to micromanage the message of every film, TV show, video game, and product that is released. Yes, they want to micromanage not just the message, but they also want to micromanage all endeavors, everything associated with the concept. They even want to control how you play the video games now and how you watch the movies and TV shows. They want to inject their own ideologies into every release. They do this because, as anarchopaths, they desperately want to feel creative power, even if it means hijacking the projects of others. They also do it because they have an agenda to influence society to accept or reject certain ideas. They want to mold the politics and values of the public, but it doesn't stop there. Did you know that recently it was in the news that Netflix had canceled over 70 shows, not because they're mean, but because no one was watching them? And you may ask, why was nobody watching them? Because these shows that they canceled had to do with the LBGQ agenda, social justice agenda, and a whole bunch of other propaganda agendas. And people are tired of it, and they're not going to spend any more of their waking hours watching it. All right. So hear this loud and clear. If you are making any type of a product that has to do with an agenda, you're going to be wasting a lot of people's money, including your own and your time, because the people are fed up and sick of it. It's not working. They say, we get it already. Leave it. Can you leave it alone? Can you drop it? Nope. Because Hollywood is ultimately about narrative control, not free expression. If you have a unique message or an interesting story to tell, they're going to twist it into something else, something that feels a lot like other stories out there that gets produced. Writers and directors with vision are either filtered out of the system or they are forced to conform to the propaganda model in order to get work. In the end, the people who get the most work and make it to the top are the people with no principles, people with no morals, and the people that will do anything to succeed, including selling their souls to the devil. Now, success and artistry are not necessarily mutually exclusive concepts. On the other hand, free expression and artistry are mutually inclusive. You cannot have one without the other. So if you have been noticing a severe decline in the quality of American entertainment over the course of the past decade, you are not alone. 70% of Americans say they would rather stay home and watch movies rather than paying to go to the theaters, even if the theaters reopen. Industry spin doctors will claim that the drop in interest is due solely to the coronavirus, but this is an outright bold-faced lie. Domestic movie attendance hit a 25-year low back in 2017, well before the coronavirus. And this is part of a long-term slide which was building for years beforehand, because you have crammed your agenda down people's throat for so long that now they're regurgitating all of that nonsense and they're tired of it. All right. It's important to note that when we talk about Hollywood, we're including the internet streaming services, which are completely intertwined with the Hollywood machine, in case you haven't noticed. Now, while streaming services have been growing to a point because of the pandemic lockdowns, the subscription jump is an anomaly compared to the past few years. Now, Netflix in particular was on a severe slide in subscriptions before the pandemic hit. And with the show Cuties, which a lot of people saw it as child pornography, it would be interesting to see how many subscribers jumped ship in the final quarters of 2020. Now, we seen Cuties, right? That was that movie we saw. We watched it.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I understand. I get to a point why people were upset about it and saw it as, child porn. I wouldn't go as far as to call it child porn though. I think what the show was showing you, if you really want to break the show Cuties down, okay, let's break it down. First of all, these were young, impressionable, preteen and early teen girls. Were they 12 and 13 years old, whatever? Okay, well, my wife says they were 11. Okay, so preteen girls, 11 years old, very impressionable. They read, they see the Vanity Fair and Vogue magazines. They see all the music videos with the scantily clad girls. They're influenced, and they can't run away from it. But they were influenced by the whole stripper culture. All right, you have to admit, we have been the culture of the video vixen, the hoe. The hoe has become famous in the United States of America in the past couple decades. If you were a hoe, especially if you put yourself on camera, you could become famous overnight. Not because of your mind, not because you have invented or created something useful for society. No, just for being a hoe. All right? Just for being a hoe. You could become rich because society has a extreme hunger for a female whoremonger. That's right. That is right. And it will not stop. It's only going to get worse. Why do you think you saw, I mean, people are tripping over cuties, but I didn't hear no one tripping over the TED Talk. That's right. In case you missed it, there was a TED Talk, and the young lady was trying to lay out a case for being pro pedophile. They even want to change the language and the classification of pedophilia and make it now analogous to being born gay. They're saying, well, you know, as I was born a pedophile, you shouldn't, you know, you shouldn't come against me for that. You know, I can't help it that, you know, I'm in love with children. I love children. Okay. So you shouldn't penalize me for that. You know, I was born this way. So you were warned about this, society. Going all the way back to 1994, there was a big concern about this. And you laughed at the so-called right-wingers. You laughed at the Christian community when they warned you that this was a slippery slope, and that if you allowed this whole gay rights thing to take form and shape, that it wasn't going to stop there. They didn't care about gay marriage. That wasn't what that was about. They knew that that was the thing that could get them in the door to obtain political power. And as you look back now, with hindsight being 2020 for some of you who were out of the loop, you were warned about this. You were warned. You were told that it's not about gay rights. It's not about gay marriage and them redefining the family. No, that was just the thing that was the key to get them in the door. But what they really wanted was to declassify all manner of adult behavior so that you couldn't be penalized for it. And that included, you know, pedophilia and bestiality and other forms of degenerate behavior. They wanted that to become mainstream. People laughed and said, you Christians are so paranoid. You conservatives don't know what you're talking about. You're always fear-mongering. Well, here we are now in the year 2020, and what do we have? TED Talks about pedophilia and how it should become okay. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Lock up your children. I think that Morbid Saint said it best when they made the song "Lock Up Your Children," because that's the only way you can keep them away from the pedophiles. Did you know in some jurisdictions within a 5-mile radius, there's an excess of 300 registered sex offenders in your area? In some areas of the United States within a 5-mile radius, there are more than 300 registered sex offenders in your area. That's right. And did you know that in some cases, especially the ones where there's an excess of 300 registered sex offenders in your area, that the majority of them are at large? And if you go and you look into it, you will see that they failed to register. They failed to update their address, phone numbers, where they work, all that stuff that they're supposed to do. And now they're at large. Did you know that? You probably didn't know that because you probably never cared to look into it. But it's true. It's true. But see, where does it end? And this is why we're becoming a lawless society. And before long, it's going to be unrecognizable. Because where do you stop? If you don't take responsibility for your actions and it's someone else's fault, or you say I was born this way, then it doesn't stop. It can't stop anywhere. Because the guy who says, well, I was born gay, well, then now he's not responsible for his behavior. The guy that says, I was born a pedophile, well, he's no longer responsible, or she's no longer responsible for her behavior. And it's very funny how everything is selective, because when you think rape, it becomes synonymous with a male raping a female. But what they don't like to talk about, I told you this a year or so ago, that the number one rising offenders are women. The number one rising sexual predators are women, females. That's right. See, you don't think that there's a such thing as a female rapist because of the Me Too movement. All you heard was poor women claiming to have been raped by men. But you never heard one case of a woman being a rapist. But that is the number one rising offender in the rape category is women. Did you know that women also is a growing case of women, and this goes back over a decade now, being addicted to pornography? See, you would think that only men can be addicted to pornography, but that is not the case. Women, too, have become addicted to pornography. And women offenders are starting to make up a larger portion of the population in your local jails and prisons. That's correct. Women rape too. Women rape other women. Women rape children. Have you forgotten back in the 90s, it seemed like every other week there was a female teacher in public school raping young boys? Have we forgotten about that? Yeah, it's rape. And the majority of these teachers were high school teachers, but there were some that were even junior high school teachers. You remember that famous one where the young man impregnated her and she went to prison? Y'all can fact check me on that one. I think she made him dead. I think they got married not long after. Crazy stuff was happening in the 90s. Crazy stuff. But that got left out in the Me Too movement. That got left out. They were focusing on Harvey Weinstein. They've been focusing on him, and Weinstein and Epstein. They were focusing on those two dudes. Not focusing on the females, though. They've been keeping that out of the media. And that hasn't stopped either, you guys. That wasn't just some phenomenon because there was something in the water in the 90s. No, that still goes on to this day. Women rape too. There are women pedophiles too. Let's not forget that. Have you forgotten the testimonies of some of Hollywood celebrities, the males that say, yeah, my babysitter was my first. I lost my virginity to my babysitter, my female babysitter. And don't forget some of the other female Hollywood celebrities, the females that told you they were taken advantage of in the crib by a woman to woman, female to female. They don't like talking about that because it doesn't fit their agenda. But that's what it is. Now, not everybody, but there are many testimonies out there too that actually exist that no one wants to talk about. They don't like talking about it because it's uncomfortable and it doesn't fit their agenda. But those celebrities are out there. They've given their testimonies. You can Google it. They tell you, yeah, my female babysitter took advantage of me. And there are actually gay people today that have given their testimonies that they were, molested at a young age by an adult, male and or female. I'm not saying all of them, but there's enough testimonies out there for it. No one likes talking about it. No one wants to talk about it. But they got you believing that they were born that way when there's no scientific evidence to suggest such a thing. Because if that were true, then how do you explain people coming out of the lifestyle? It is a lifestyle. It is a choice. A lifestyle choice. If it wasn't, if it wasn't, and you were born that way, then you would not be able to change. If you're born a certain way, you can't change it. If I was born 7 feet tall, I can't wish myself 5'10". I was born 7 feet tall. I can't change that. But we're not talking about physical attributes. We're talking about behavior, social behavior. Social behaviors can be learned. Social behaviors can be changed. Isn't that supposedly the reason why you send people to correctional facilities? Isn't that why it's called a correctional facility? It's designed and meant to correct your behavior. Well, no, I'm criminally insane. I was diagnosed as being criminally insane. I can't help being a criminal. Well, then why do we even build prisons and have people in prison? We should let everyone out of prison. If prison has zero rehabilitation attached to it, then everyone should be released from prison. And because I was born this way is the new mantra, then again, you need to release everyone out of prison. I remember talking to a guy once, a convicted felon once. You know what he told me? And most convicted felons will tell you the truth. They know who they are and they're real about it. They don't play around about it. They'll say, yes, I'm a thief. That's what I do. Well, I remember talking to this one young man. He was like, man, you know why I'm here, man? I'm locked up so much because you know what, man? I just can't stop running up into stores and robbing stores, man. I just get a rush from it. I can't. That's just what I do. So it's who I am. I rob stuff. I stick people up. Remember how Martin used to say on Martin's show? He said, I throw people out. Well, this young man was like, man, I stick people up. That's what they do. He said, that's what I do. Were you born this way? Nah. I just caught the bug after my first robbery. And now I like robbing. I run up in spots. What are you gonna do when you get out? Probably run up in some more spots. There you go. It's a behavior. It's a choice, ladies and gentlemen. You choose to do what you do. In this life, you do get what you want. But what you want is not necessarily what you verbalize. It's what you do. If you say, let me go talk to this little 5-year-old over here and I'm asking him what he wants to be when he grows up. And he say, I want to be a doctor. Oh, that's great. If you really study hard and everything, and if that's something you're passionate about, then I think you're going to be a great doctor. So are you good in school? Or do you like math? Do you like science? Nope, I hate math and I hate science. Okay, all right. Well, maybe your attitude will change in a few years. I'll come back in 5 years and talk to you. 5-year-old's now 10 years old. So since the last time we talked, you say you wanted to be a doctor. Yep, I want to be a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. Has your attitude changed toward math and science? How are you doing in math and science? Nope, I still hate math and science. And I get terrible grades in math and science. Are you concerned about that at all? I mean, because if you're going to be a doctor, you're going to have to be pretty good in math and science. Have you considered maybe some tutoring, or is there maybe something you don't understand and you maybe need to get help from the teacher or your parents or whatever? There's a lot of tools out here now. We got the internet. You can go online. There's all types of stuff. Of course, the library is also still free too. Nope, I don't care about it. I hate it, and I don't even like to do it, and I don't even do my homework. I don't turn my homework in. I don't care about math and science. What do your grades look like in math and science since you don't do your homework? Oh, I'm failing in math and science. Do your parents care? Yeah, they talk to me, but they say it's my life, and I have to make choices for myself. Yeah, but you're only 10 years old. Yeah, I know. I tell you what. I'll come back in 5 more years and talk to you, because then you'll be 15 and maybe your mind will have developed a little bit more and you won't be so immature about these things. Come back 15. He's 15 now. 5 more years have passed. 10 years since we first started talking. So, what do you want to be when you grow up? Have you decided? I mean, you're getting close to graduating high school in a couple of years and then on university. Have you decided what you want to do? Nope. I still want to be a doctor. Really? Okay. Well, so has your grades improved in math and science? Nope. I'm in remedial classes for math and science. So there's a lot of help out there for you, sir. Yeah. Nope, not interested in it. I just want to hang out with my friends and go to the mall, and that's all I want to do. Okay, fine. Well, you know what? You'll be 20 years the next time we talk in 5 years, and I'm hoping that you'll be in university and you start thinking about your future a little bit more seriously. Come back. He's now 20. 15 years has passed since we began speaking. He's 20 years old, graduated high school. So, are you in university? Nope. Do you have any plans on going to college? Have you applied to any schools? Nope. What was your GPA in high school? 1.3. So you didn't care about math and science? You never got strong in those areas? Nope. Hate it. Can't stand it. You see, guys, ladies and gentlemen, there's a big difference between saying what you want to do versus working toward and making steps in that direction. You can talk all day long about what you want to do or what you're going to do, but if you don't put your feet in front of you and move in that direction, then you will not do what your mouth says you want to do, because the truth of the matter is you really don't want to do those things. You're just saying it because you probably think that's what people want to hear. So guess what? Could you say that the young man got exactly what he wanted out of his life? Absolutely. No, he said he wanted to be a doctor. He never got it. No, that's not true. He said he wanted to be a doctor, but he didn't really want to be a doctor. So he got exactly what he wanted. This is a hard truth that many people do not want to tackle and deal with, because the truth of the matter is, in this life, you do get what you want a majority of the time, unless there's some other extenuating circumstances that is preventing you and making it impossible for you to achieve said goal. But people get what they want. I think the ending of the movie, The Devil Wears Prada, was probably one of the best examples of that in a film. She's riding in the back of the limousine, and she's thinking about, her life and everything, and how it would have been great to be married and have a husband and kids and be a family person, a mom, a wife, mother, all that good stuff. And she shed a tear for about 3 seconds, and then she snapped right out of it and bounced right back to herself, because at the end of the day, what she really wanted was to be successful in business. She wanted the power. She loved power more than she loved the idea of being a wife and being married. She loved being successful in business and power more than she loved being a mom. So at the end of the day, did she truly get what she wanted? The answer is yes. Because the things that you really want, that's what you work toward. All right? Where your heart is where your treasure is, and vice versa. Don't let anyone deceive you from that. Where your heart is, that's where your treasure is. What you spend the most time working on, and whatever direction you spend the most time walking down, that's where you're going to end up. That's your destination. Always remember that. Now, you can change your destination, because we're talking about attitudes and decisions and choices. You can change what path you want to travel. But most of the time, when you start walking down a road, you never get off that road, because you get comfortable with that road and you get settled into that road. And it's hard to get off that path once you go down that road. There's the old saying, once you go down there, once you cross this line, once you go down that road, there's no turning back. There's a lot of truth to that. A lot of truth to that. All right? A lot of truth. Now, another interesting development, going back to the Hollywood thing, among streaming services, is that the most popular content in most cases are old content. That's the most popular. Old content is the most popular content. I can even tell you, just from speaking for myself, I find myself watching older content, older TV shows or older movies, because those are classic. And you know something else too? I found myself getting away from American things. Right now, I like British telly more than I like American television. I like the crime dramas on the British telly. Them crime dramas on there smack and drop kick any crime dramas over here. If you watch a crime drama in America, you're watching the old one, something that was on the air is no longer on the air. You're not watching anything new because the new stuff sucks. And even with the comedy, since when did comedy stop being funny? Gotta ask yourself these questions. Something to think about. Now, shows and movies from 10 to 20 years ago draw the most views by far. New content consistently fails. And this is happening among all demographics, from Generation Z to baby boomers. And this says a lot about modern Hollywood's decline, doesn't it? Says a lot. It's like saying, well, I'm driving this XYZ vehicle that I've had for 20 years. How come you haven't bought a new car? Because I like this one. I have bought new cars, but I don't even drive them anymore. I'm driving this 20-year-old vehicle because I think it was made better and it's just better. Better gas mileage, better everything. See what I'm saying? That's sad. Now, the point is that Hollywood was crashing well before the pandemic. And the reason is clearly related to the change in priorities from making money and making consumers happy to making value statements regardless of logic or practicality. And that can be the same thing said for video games. There is a massive evolution going on, and the public is growing tired of the controlled pop culture paradigm, as well as the intrusive zealotry of new hyper-political messaging. People are tired of it. Most people are not stupid. Maybe slow to catch on to certain things, but not stupid. They recognize when they're being bombarded with propaganda, and they don't like it when the balance of storytelling and entertainment shifts too far in either direction, left or right. Imagine if all movies, all television, all music, and all comics went full bore evangelical Christian or Muslim, and nothing else was allowed to be made. Well, that is what's happening with the leftist cult religion of social justice right now. They have attempted to suffocate all other points of view, and it is alienating millions of people that prefer to see multiple points of view represented, as well as people that just want to be entertained rather than preached to. All right? Think about that for a minute. All right, I see y'all in the live chat. Hold on for a second. What you got here? Have I ever checked out Quantico? Nah, I wanted to check it out, but I never really got into it. Nah. Wow. So season 2, huh? I may have to peep that. I'll see if it's on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something. I may have to check that out. Season 2. I'll tell you this though. It's funny you say that because I'm watching or I could say rewatching. I'm rewatching the House of Cards. And I got to tell you, man, everything that was in that show, I see why they targeted the producer and took with the Me Too movement and took it off the air. And that's because everything that we are experiencing now was already talked about in that show 5 years ago. So quite prophetic. All right, as far as the fairness doctrine goes, I'm not up 100% on that. I followed it some years ago, and to my recollection at that time, no, that wasn't a Democrat-Republican situation. It was some more to it going on behind the scenes. I think Rush Limbaugh spent a long time covering that in depth. I do remember that part of it, and it wasn't a quote unquote political thing. It was something else going on behind the scenes at that time. All I remember is Rush Limbaugh. He dealt with that. Let me think of the year. Let me think of the year. Hold on. Let me go back into the brain archives here. Okay, that would have been 2007 to no 2008. Yeah, 2008. 2008. And I think back and see I'm talking I'm going old school. You guys probably don't even know or heard on some of this, but these things aren't on the air anymore. But Janet Parshall's America back in the 90s dealt with that too, that whole fairness doctrine, because there was some other stuff behind it. And they had brought on, people. They had some special guests that were working with the Federal Trade Commission and other parts of government, and it was deep. And at that time, I could care less at that time, but I still listened to it because I love talk radio and stuff. That's all I really listened to. But they dealt with that. They dealt with that fairness doctrine thing. And from what I do remember, it didn't have anything to do with Democrat and Republican. It was something way deeper than that was going on with the whole fairness doctrine thing. And I don't remember the specific. It was a specific agenda, and I just for the life of me can't remember what those talking points were. But it was important, and I know that a lot of radio stations. It was a big pushback. It was a big pushback in the media. It was a fight. It was a fight. I just can't remember who it was. I know that it was a lot of people coming against it, even people you wouldn't think. They was like, nah, we don't want this fairness doctrine, because they knew what it meant. For those that are not familiar with it, in a nutshell, the fairness doctrine was like making Coca-Cola include a can of Pepsi in every six pack, and that's not what you want. That's not free speech. You don't want that. But we kind of going that way anyway, without going that way, so to speak, with all the censorship that's going on right now. Let's see, Dex, do you know where Queen went with her first visit after 7 months in a bunker? I have no idea. No, I don't know. Enlighten me. Let's see here. Gregory Hallett, very important person you never heard of. Probably have. I'm bad with names either if I did hear about him. Obamaland on Netflix. Nope, never heard of that, but I have to check that out too. Okay, fairness doctrine was eliminated so Republicans could create fake news channel as Republican propaganda network. Again, it's not Democrat and Republican because they're all in the same team. What they do is it's probably the greatest screenplay ever written. I don't think Shakespeare could do any better. You have the Republicans that are acting a certain role, and you have Democrats acting out a certain role. But behind both of them is the money and the power that moves and controls them. All right. Democrats and Republicans are just puppets. They're puppet masters, are the central banks that back them and put them in the office, and other shadowy figures. So Democrat and Republicans only do the bidding of their masters. Always remember that. All right. A Democrat and a Republican have no power whatsoever. It's the power behind them that's the true power. So don't ever forget. People can get mad at Trump all they want. He's playing his role. He's doing a part, and he's doing it very well. Every president that we've had has been selected, not elected. You need to understand that too. They create these narratives to control the public. So if they tell you right now, I mean, every year it's a new show. Right now, the show is the Hate Donald Trump TV show. And he's playing the part of a villain. He's a very accomplished actor. He had his own TV show, remember? So his role is to be hated. And he knows that. And then the Democrats' role is to pretend to hate him and to pretend like, how did he get here? Where did he come from? He's not part of our club, blah, 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 blah. It's designed that way for a reason, you guys. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So don't get mad at the Republicans and the Democrats. It's the machine, it's the shadowy figures behind them that need to be brought into the light. If you could bring them into the light, then you wouldn't have these problems. All right. So, and I've covered that before. Yep. It's a banker's dictatorship. All wars are bankers' wars. Remember that. Always remember that. So back to this Hollywood thing. So again, we have a lot of problems going on there because comedy is no longer funny and movies are no longer entertaining. It's all a sermon. Hollywood has become a big church of cultness where everything you're watching is propaganda instead of, trying to entertain you. It's like you can make fun of the old black and white movies and the Alfred Hitchcock, scary movies, whatever, and say, well, they're too slow. That's because back then they took time to develop the characters and develop the plot of the story. They took their time, and there was more dialogue than physicality going on. What I mean is there was more Jane talking to Stephen than there was things exploding on screen. All right. Things weren't exploding on screen. It wasn't a lot of chaos and confusion going on. Cars weren't exploding and running off of bridges. Buildings weren't blowing up. It was none of that. It was people talking. It was developing the character. They took a long time developing the characters would talk. It used to be to the point where you wouldn't even be aware that you were watching a movie. It felt like you were sitting in a room with other adults and just getting in on their conversation. They really took the time to paint the picture of the people and the environment, what the world was like that they were living in. And it made you fall in love with the characters and root for the good guys and not for the bad guys. But then there was a paradigm shift. We found ourselves rooting for the bad guys and not the good guys. Case in point, for those of you old enough to remember, the Hall of Justice versus the Legion of Doom. How many of you can raise your hand and say you was all about that Legion of Doom? I know I was. The fake Superman, the fake Spider-Man, the fake Wonder Woman, the fake Aquaman. I thought those were some of the most hilarious things in the world, man. Hilarious. It's funny. It's funny. It's just funny. So I noticed that there was a overall shift in that respective as well. But the old black and white movies, like the old black and white Perry Mason, some of the best shows that were ever on television. The way they developed the story, and you had to try to work with him and try to solve what was really happening. And he was so smart, and he had such discernment. And like I said, that and the old Alfred Hitchcock stuff. We watch The Birds and stuff now and laugh because, like, man, this ain't scary. But back then it was considered scary. So it lets you know how desensitized you have been to seeing certain visual images. Isn't that sad? But when you listen to the story, it's a very good story. If you listen to the dialogue between the characters, dialogue used to mean something. So now here's our blueprint. All right, because it's not rocket science. Telling a story is actually as easy as long as you follow certain rules. Rule number 1: don't talk down to your audience. You don't even need to explain that. Rule number 2: don't tell your audience how they should think or feel. All right, that's something we've gotten away from. Rule number 3: tap into archetypes that people relate to. All right, take a page out of 2K. All right, NBA 2K. They're archetype systems, and you can build your own character to fit your play style if you're into video basketball games. Rule number 4: write characters that audiences can feel sympathy for. Yes, remember Boo Radley? All right. That's what I'm talking about. That was just writing perfection. How about this one? Rule number 5. Audiences will not feel sympathy for narcopathic characters. No, they won't. Rule number 6. Your characters must have a story arc, even if they end up right back where they started. That's correct. Rule number 7. Most stories have a message, but not all messages matter to most audiences. Correct. And you don't cram it down their throats or beat them over the head with your agenda. Rule number 8. People do not need to see themselves in a story in order to relate to a story. All right? Let's be honest. You don't have to see yourself in the story in order to relate to the story. Why so narcissistic all of a sudden? Rule number 9. Stories made by committee will usually fail or they are quickly forgotten. Very true. Because there's no heart and soul in it. All right? They've gotten away from the rules of writing. Writing 101. Either the writer suffers or the audience suffers. And lately, the audience has been doing a lot of suffering. And finally, a superior storyteller is able to meet audience expectations while at the same time surprising them. Subverting expectations is a method for weak-minded and lazy storytellers. And what's up with the stories where there is no ending? How can you have no ending? Well, it's up to your interpretation. What do you think should have happened or should happen or would happen? Nonsense. Nonsense. Again, that's laziness. All right? That's laziness. Okay, since we have this is an adult audience, we'll talk about some adult shows that are actually not getting a lot of buzz. But I think the writing is superior. All right? Here's one. If you're into to this type of story. Okay. So, in case you didn't know, 50 Cent has a show out called Power. And I think that it is probably the best writing on television. Probably the best writing in a long time. I forget the lady's name, one of the writers, but the way she explains how they develop the characters and the plots and the story, just when you think you may have something figured out, you don't have it figured out. You don't have it figured out. All right? You don't have it figured out. I like that. One of my pet peeves in watching any kind of a movie or show or whatever is I don't like being able to predict what the next scene is going to be or what's going to happen next. In my household, I am known as the movie prophet or the TV prophet because I can break the thing down and tell you what's going to happen before it happens, and it drives my household crazy. But we have a lot of fun with it. And my batting average is pretty good. It really is. So why is it that the current crop of people in Hollywood and the entertainment industry in general are completely incapable of following any of the rules I just stated, with the exception of the writers of Power? Excellent writing over there. If you guys are listening to this show, bravo to you. Keep writing. Awesome writing. Haven't seen writing like that in a long time. Why is this? It's because they don't care anymore about telling good stories that inspire or entertain the public. There's an old saying: either you give your you give your customers what they want or they'll find it somewhere else. You see, they don't even really care about the public or their money. In fact, they often show disdain and hatred for the public. The only thing they care about is force feeding their ideology to the public, whether the public likes it or not. And I have to tell you, that's why people are watching foreign programming and turning away from American programming. Even with the cartoons or the anime, look at how Japan is blowing up with the anime. Shows like Naruto, incredible writing, incredible writing. And if you never played any of the Naruto video games, Naruto, one was but it really starts getting good at 2, 3, and 4. The story, the writing, the storytelling, out of this world. Matter of fact, a lot of their anime shows are absolutely splendid. One of my favorite of all time anime is the Castlevania. Incredible. Serious, funny, hilarious at times. Just amazing, right? Things that you would have never thought that they would go in like that. One of my favorite quotes in the show Castlevania was when the fake priest got exposed by the demons that they were conjuring up, and the priest and this one demon had they had some beef or whatever, and the demon shut him down. It was like, God don't love you with your fake self. He was like, but I love you. Come here, give me a kiss. And he grabbed him and just bit his head off. It was hilarious. The demon bit his head off. I mean, see what I'm saying? The dialogue, hilarious. I wouldn't have thought to write something like that in a million years. So the demon's talking to the fake priest saying, God doesn't love you. He says, he was like, we do the work of the Lord. He was like, your work makes him puke. He was like, but I love you. Now come here and give me a kiss. Incredible. Hilarious. You don't have writing like that in America right now. I'm sorry, you don't. It's missing. It's not there. And then there's another show. I'm not good with names, but there's another show. I think she's is she a red panda? Y'all probably know the show. She's a red panda, and she lives in her head a lot. And when she gets like really angry, the extreme metal starts playing, the thrash starts playing, and she starts doing these incredible vocals. Incredible. Analogous to like the group Ginger. Analogous to that. Awesome show. The writing is absolutely hilarious. And I love it when she starts when she starts getting angry and she starts rocking out. And it's hilarious, man. Hilarious. If you're into extreme metal under the thrash genre, you will love it. You will love it. They just don't have stuff like that here in America. Oh, Gretzko. That's what it's called. A Gretzko. There you go. A Gretzko. And I think that is on Netflix as well. A Gretzko is on Netflix, and so is Castlevania. Awesome cartoonage. Unfortunately, the best cartoons in America right now are the old cartoons like SpongeBob. Hilarious. Every time I watch SpongeBob, I have to grab my stomach because I'm like, I can't breathe. I'm laughing so hard. It is so hilarious. So hilarious. Again, since when did comedy stop being funny? Hilarious show. Who would have thought that SpongeBob would have you laughing until you start crying? You know, that's what I'm talking about. And some of the other, but then there's some adult shows too, from the Adult Swim channel. Like what's that? Robot Chicken is absolutely hilarious. Of course, the older ones like King of the Hill is hilarious. American Dad is hilarious. A couple of those. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, all that's hilarious. The writing is on another level. It's just hilarious. They had to be like super high to write some of this stuff, but at least they cared enough to entertain the audience. You know what I'm saying? Without cramming an agenda down your throat. And Hollywood is just no longer a business. It's a political machine now. They're no longer concerned with making a profit. This is something that I talked about. I've been talking about this for a while. I don't know if I really expressed it on this show. I know my wife and I and my kids, we talk about it all the time. Since when are businesses not caring about making money? Matter of fact, now I think I did touch on this a while back, and I forget what the situation was, but I noticed that companies like all of a sudden had become really super political to the point where they were turning away money. Like, we don't want your money. To the point, like it almost got to the point like they were like, if you're a conservative or Republican, we don't want you shopping here. We don't want your money. If you come into my show, to my shop, to my showroom wearing a "I voted for Donald Trump" t-shirt, we're gonna kick you out. You can't shop here because you like Donald Trump. Since when did a for-profit company care about your individual political affiliations? As a company, you don't give a darn. You about that paper. You about that chicken. You trying to get at that bag. I don't care what your beliefs are. If you come into my showroom and you want to buy one of my expensive cars, I don't even care where the money coming from. Just buy the car. Goodbye. Thank you for your services. Come back and see me again, won't you? Come on back one more again, why don't you? As a business, you are in the business of making money. And that's what business should be about. Not pushing a social agenda or political agenda. Why do you care? And why would you stop your money? What company would stop their money? If I had a CEO who was stopping me getting my money, he would be fired immediately. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Get out. Straight up. You're about money, not about political affiliations. And it's sad because we have businesses across the board that are no longer concerned about money. They're concerned about political correctness. How do you get that? Yeah, I don't make cakes for gay people. You know what? Again, why do I care what two adults do in the privacy of their own bedroom? As a business, I don't care, and I shouldn't care. I'm a business. So what are you going to do? When every time a customer walks through your door, are you just going to stop? Say, oh, wait, right there. First of all, I have to take your temperature because of the pandemic. Next, after that, I have a series of questions for COVID. I have to ask you: have you ever traveled out of the country? Have you ever been diagnosed with COVID? Have you known someone been down? Blah blah blah. All that stupid checklist thing. All right. Then I got to ask you: okay, what are your political affiliations? Okay, now I have another series of questions to ask you. I got to ask you: what are your opinion on these social issues and political issues? And then I'm going to ask you some questions about religious issues. And then after you've done all of that, then I'm gonna look you over once or twice. Then I'll decide if you can come into my shop and give me money. Really? No. Bump that. Miss me with all of that. Customer comes into my store. Welcome. Is there any way I can assist you today? How can I get you to part with more of your paper? That's what I'm thinking about as a business, as a store. And you want to know the answer to that, you guys? For people who are listening today who are entrepreneurs, who may own businesses or even a chain of stores, whatever. I don't care what your business is. There's really, at the end of the day, only one business model. At the end of the day, I don't care what they taught you in business school. I don't care if you went to Harvard Business School. I'm telling you right now, your professors, if they didn't tell you what I'm about to tell you, they're wrong. I don't care how many books you read. I don't care how many doctorates the person had that taught your class. They're lying to you. There's only one business model at the end of the day. And I'm about to share that with you right now. Are you ready? Here you go. There's only one business model in business. Let me break it down for you. It goes a little something like this. You should strive to have the most superior product. Number one, you need to have a superior product when compared with your peers. Your product must be superior. That is non-negotiable. If your product is not superior, then you're not ready. Don't even go out into the public space because you're not ready. You don't have a superior product. All right? That's number one. Number two, your superior product should be accompanied by competitive pricing. You're not trying to rape or gouge the public or take advantage of the public in any way. Your superior product should also be competitively priced. All right? That's number two. The third point is probably even more important than point one and two. Your final point that you need to have on your business model, so superior product, number one, competitive pricing, number two, and third, and probably one of the most important of all, is outstanding customer service. That means you stick and stand by your product. And when people inquire, you are there to assist. Superior customer service. Because you want your customer to come back. Not only do you want your customer to come back, you want them to tell 10 other people and bring those 10 other people back with them. And then those 10 people tell 10 people, and on and on and on and on, and so forth and so forth. And if you make those 3 bullet points your business model, remember, we live in a reality, in a world that has consequences and repercussions. Following this business model is not going to erase or eradicate the consequences and repercussions of following those 3 bullet points. If you follow those 3 bullet points and make those your business model, I have to tell you the truth, there are going to be amazing ramifications, repercussions for that. And those ramifications and repercussions is this: you're going to make a lot of money. There you have it. You see, people are hustling backwards. They're focusing on the ramifications and repercussions and not focusing on the superior product. They want to skip that, or they want to skip another step. They want to skip the competitive pricing, or they want to skip the outstanding customer service. You can't skip any one of the 3 bullet points. You have to follow all 3 bullet points if you want the positive outcome. Making a lot of money is a consequence of doing good business. All right, that's what that is. Most people skip those steps. Some companies skip all 3 steps. It's unfortunately that in America, our business model is built on lies. They tell a bunch of sensational lies and twist words and play logical mind games to get you in the door. And notice how there in certain industries you have these legalese that you got to give. Like, for instance, car commercials. At the end of every car commercial, you hear the man talking super fast on the radio. Because that's the fine print that they're not telling you about. That means that your yes is not yes and your no is not no. Your yes should be yes, your no should be no. Don't tell people, oh, this is on sale, save 50%. But then the fine print says, save 50% when you buy 257 items. Who in their right mind needs to buy 257 loaves of bread? You see how they get you? You save 50% off if you buy 257 loaves of bread. Come, really? Or here's another one. Here's another one. Free laptop. Inquire within. And then the fine print is 3 pages long. Free laptop after you buy this Rolls-Royce Bentley for $250,000. Then you can get a free laptop. Remember that. Everything that you see in America has all types of fine print associated with it. Read the fine print. They lie. Their advertisements are lying to you. And Hollywood is not out the. They don't get a free pass either because they have been doing that type of lying for years now. Case in point, have you noticed that trailers for movies has changed? They realize now that they can, instead of just showing you scenes from the movie, you know what they're showing you now? They showing you stuff that's not even in the movie. They're showing you scenes that were deleted from and removed from the movie. Yep. Case in point, I forget which volume it was, but it was one of the the Wayne's Brothers scary movie thing that they were doing, whatever it's called. And I remember the one had Queen Latifah in it, and they showed a scene with her, and that's why everybody wanted to go see the movie because of that one scene. It was hilarious. And when we went to go see it, that scene wasn't in the movie. We waited for the whole movie, was waiting to see that scene. That scene did not come up. So they lied. They showed you something that was not in the movie, so that was a lie. They had to draw you in so you could see it. Because they knew that if they used that in their trailer, everybody and their mama going to want to come see that movie. That was not in the movie. So they have gotten hip that they can show you anything with a trailer. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the movie. There's no law saying it has to be in the movie, so bait and switch. That's just a new form of bait and switch. Guess what? All other industries are catching on to it. Video games are not exempt from that either. Oh no. You know, they have been exposed in recent years when they have their special little things where they seminars they do, like the E3 and all that other stuff, and they show you a game, and they come in and they'll reveal a new game, and you'll be like, "Oh my goodness, that looks dope! When is that dropping?" Only to learn that they haven't even started working on the game yet. And that, what they just showed you, is not even in the game. It has nothing to do with the game. Yes. Caught lying. That is a lie. Don't say this is XYZ game and then you show these incredible cutscenes and then that's not the game and it has nothing to do with the game. The truth of the matter is you haven't even started working on the game. See what I'm saying? Anything to try to drum up pre-business before they spend the money to make the game. Total lies. I could go on and on forever with that. Lies everywhere. One of the bigger lies too happened in the early 2000s when the home builders were getting slick. And because they had the state in their back pocket, they were able to get away with this. And it went a little something like this. If you wanted to secure you a spot in the new community that's being developed, even they would sell out even before they even broke ground, because you would come in to the showroom, you would pick out the layout that you want, and let's say the dining room is supposed to be let's say 20 feet by 20 feet. We'll just use that as an example, right? And then you're all excited. You give them a $50,000 deposit to secure your spot in this new community. And they tell you, okay, everything is ready to move in. All right, this was worth the wait. You're all excited. You move in, you move all your stuff. And then all of a sudden you realize something is not quite right. Your furniture doesn't fit in the living room, and it doesn't make any sense because when you look at the floor plan, you compared it with your current floor plan of your current house and your current living room with the current furniture setup and you took measurements and it would fit perfectly because your current living room, all right, is 20 by 20. So why is it that the couch don't fit? That's because your particular unit, they did not do 2020. They did 15 by 15. So they ganked you by 5. And you know what? There was legally nothing you could do about it. They got your money, they built the buildings, and now they done bounced. They were so hot. They even had, the your local television show. I know here in the DMV they used to have a thing called Seven on Your Side, where they would investigate consumer issues and stuff like that, consumer product things like that. Well, this was a big thing, and they talked about this for a while, and people were hot because the builders were started cutting corners. And instead of giving you the exact measurements that you signed up for and paid for, somewhere in the fine print, unbeknownst to you, was that they were able to do what they wanted to do, and there's nothing you could do about it. And even got even harder than that. Some people would end up pulling out after giving their deposit, and there was some rule in the paperwork somewhere hidden in the fine print that deposits are non-refundable. So if you gave them 50 G's, you just out 50 G's. And because the states let them get away with it, people were hot. They had to back out. They was hot. Because some of these people were, they gave the money contingent on the idea that they were going to get the loan. And if it fell through, they out the money. You see how shady American business has been across the board, not just Hollywood. We're in a new paradigm now where companies have become political. They don't care about making money. And you have to ask yourself, then how can they expect to survive like that? The answer is because they're being backstopped by your taxpayer money. They're being backstopped by the Fed, backstopped by the federal government, by the Department of Treasury and the central banks, the Federal Reserve. They're being backstopped. And that is their reward for being a good little boy and a good little girl and doing what the government tells you to do. If they tell you they want you to censor certain things on your search engine, then that's exactly what you're going to do. If they tell you they don't want you serving people that come into your establishment wearing Trump t-shirts, you're going to do it because they're going to take care of you. They say, don't worry about the loss in revenue. We're going to take care of you. That's why they're able to do this. But that's for another discussion. So this is messed up because they don't care about telling good stories in Hollywood anymore, inspiring the public. They hate you. Hollywood is no longer a business. They are no longer concerned with making a profit. They do not care if the public is repelled by their content. Everything is changing. Hollywood is becoming what is suspected to be and always meant to be an Orwellian bullhorn blaring in the ears of the people 24/7, a propaganda machine. MK Ultra mind control, everything you want to ad lib and write in the spaces provided on your paper. All right. When you look at the Hollywood media today, you have to be concerned and worried about it. Okay. Should it remind you of the loudspeakers in the cities and towns of communist North Korea, which fill the streets with propaganda songs and messages until it becomes an insidious background hum in the minds of every citizen? There are even some places in North Korea where propaganda radios are installed by the government in every home, and people cannot shut them off. Did you know that? Did you know that? Some critics will argue that Hollywood is attempting to influence the public to think just like they do. to join the social justice cult. And this is partially true. But the reality is that this is about narrative saturation rather than pure thought control. They know that many people will not be influenced by them and that they don't care. They are removing all alternative viewpoints from people's daily lives because they want to torture anyone who disagrees with them. They seem to take joy in doing so. That's right. We no longer have a public marketplace of ideas. It's no, you're going to accept what I say, and if you don't like it, then you can catch these hands. That's where we are right now. Now, many North Korean citizens hate the street speakers and the constant propaganda. But the job of propaganda is not always to convince everyone or control their thoughts. No, no, no. It is sometimes meant to send a message. You will get nothing else. We are here to make you miserable, and there is nothing you can do about it. The only way to stop the misery is to give in and submit, or go with the other alternative. Catch these hands. All right. The media has become another version of I'm gonna get you sucker. You only have two choices: the window or the stairs. Now, to summarize, if they can't brainwash you, they are perfectly content to remove all happiness from your life by ensuring you never see anything inspiring ever again. The message is absolute, and like a black hole, it absorbs and destroys everything else around it. Think of it like the Spanish Inquisition of the Dark Ages, but with a technological edge. Obviously, this is leading to people abandoning all new entertainment in droves. Propaganda films with blockbuster budgets are crashing, and sales are dismal. Classic franchises like Star Wars and Star Trek and Ghostbusters are being abandoned by audiences. Disney's Mulan remake, filled with social justice and Chinese communist anti-prop, was a complete and utter disaster. Numerous studios are now facing huge profit shortfalls and layoffs, and COVID is only partially to blame. Just partially. Netflix's Cuties, which has really caused an uproar, which is being seen as a love letter to pedophilia, posing as a commentary on the sexualization of children, is now under investigation and indictment, and Netflix lost vast numbers of subscribers in the protests. And for good reason. The film features 11-year-old girls acting out overly sexual scenes, including nudity and masturbation, all with creepy, hovering camera work. Note to Netflix: child porn is not a First Amendment right. Basically, every production that carries a hard leftist message is failing. The saying, get woke, go broke, is popular for a reason. The hills that Hollywood and their streaming partners are choosing to die on might seem bizarre to most people. But again, the Hollywood elites don't care anymore. You want to know why they're dabbling and trampling down on garbage like Cuties? Well, as mentioned, it's about saturating the environment until there is nothing else, while also sending a message that there's nothing you can do about it. I think this says something about our immediate future, don't you? Why is Hollywood now scorning any profit incentive? Are the elites that run Hollywood privy to some kind of information that makes them confident in their decision to undermine and alienate the majority of their consumers? Eventually, these companies are going to go bankrupt if they continue on this path. Is it possible? Is it possible They understand that the system is in general is on the verge of collapse anyway, and they have decided to go out in a blaze of glory like a suicide bomber. Hmm. Hmm. But for now, the state of storytelling in our culture for the foreseeable future is done. Alternative production and distribution is easily accomplished in the digital age. Hollywood is completely unnecessary, and Americans are starting to realize this. However, I wonder if alternatives will be allowed to exist, or will they be attacked and shut down in the name of the new normal? I mean, after all, look at your social media sites clamping down on just about every word you can think of. Now, if we are following a traditional communist model, which it does appear that we are, then the goal will be to continue to eradicate choice until the only options left are those that are granted to us by centralized committee. My suspicion is that economic crises, along with corporate monopoly, will be used to this end. Our only option at this point, or at that point, will be to avoid consuming anything they are selling. But of course, it's also possible that one day you will have a TV installed in your home that you can never shut off, playing movies like Cuties nonstop until it becomes ingrained background noise in your brain. And that is messed up. And everyone knows on this channel that I'm a gamer and I talk about gaming. And recently, PlayStation just had an update. It pretty much changed some pretty critical things. Like they took away um, the the one part where you could put things away and save them. Like this is my little later on pile. You know what I'm talking about? My wish list. They took all that away. That doesn't exist no more. So companies are starting to take more and more control and away from the consumer. Consumers are losing control over their products that they consume. They want to hang on to it after they sell it to you. They still want to control it and control how you use it. If you're so afraid of your customers, why even be in business in the first place? Why create anything if you're so afraid? That doesn't make any sense to me. So that's all I got today. I just wanted to point some things out to you guys. Um, we're going down a very dangerous, slippery slope, you guys. But we got some kind of hope. At least we do have one civil rights legend who opposed the whole critical race theory nonsense. We got one. We do got one. We got one. Just one. And it's sad. It is sad. It is really sad. But hey, what can you do about it, right? Not much. Not much. Not much. Not much at all. But you see, critical race theory, or CRT, is in the news these days, but many people still may not know what really is going on. What does this all really means? This Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff, and the 1619 nonsense I covered yesterday. They think CRT is part of the Reverend Martin Luther King's civil rights efforts. But in truth, it is directly opposed to the central concept and vision that he most stood for. One of the last and greatest civil rights leaders of our time, and one of King's closest friends and advisors, did understand CRT and explicitly rejected it. Dr. Wyatt T. Walker was a legend in the American Civil Rights Movement, and he was the executive director of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in the critical years of 1960 through 1964. He was also a co-founder of CORE, which was the Congress of Racial Equality, Chief of Staff to King and King's Field General in the organized resistance against notorious Birmingham Safety Commissioner Bull Connor. Now, Walker compiled and named King's the letter from Birmingham jail. He was with King for the March on Washington that produced the I Have a Dream speech and in Oslo for the Nobel Peace Prize. Afterward, Dr. Walker came to New York City to serve as minister of the Canaan Baptist Church of Christ in Harlem. He was one of the nation's most respected ministers until his death in 2018. In his book, David and Goliath, Malcolm Gladwell dedicated a chapter to Dr. Walker and his work in Birmingham. The cover of Ebony magazine called Walker the man behind Martin Luther King. In short, no one may have known King's thoughts better or been closer to them than Dr. Walker. Even as he aged, Dr. Walker never backed down from the passionate pursuit of civil rights for all. Later in his life, he was chairman of the Reverend Al Sharpton's National Action Network and a supporter of reparations for African Americans. He got to know him soon after Amadou Diallo had been horribly gunned down in New York in 1999. Now, in 2015, Dr. Walker co-authored an essay about education reform and race relations. All right. And he co-authored this. This was a co-author work. All right. So let's see here. Quote, today, too many remedies, such as critical race theory, the increasingly fashionable post-Marxist, post-modernist approach that analyzes society as institutional group power structures rather than on a spiritual or a one-to-one human level, are taking us in the wrong direction, separating even elementary school children into explicit racial groups and emphasizing differences instead of similarities. The answer is to go deeper than race, deeper than wealth, deeper than ethnic identity, deeper than gender. To teach ourselves to comprehend each person not as a symbol of a group, but as a unique and special individual within a common context of shared humanity. To go to that fundamental place where we all simplify mortal creatures seeking to create order, beauty, family, and connection to the world that on its own seems to be bent too often towards randomness and entropy. End quote. End quote. They don't like that. Black Lives Matter don't like that. He don't like that. They don't like that. That flies in the face of everything that they stand for and blows them up. You got a civil rights legend blowing you up. You ain't going to hear them quote from him because he just vehemently opposed their Marxist ideologies and critical race theory. Something to think about, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward. Something to think about. Something to think about. This cultural Marxism has to be exposed for what it is, and it needs to be rejected on all levels. One or two people can't necessarily do it on their own. All right, other people have to step up to the plate and do what you need to do. All right? I'm just saying. But who am I? I'm just one dude, right? All right, so with that being said, man, you know what it is, PulseWaveTrading.com. And remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And I'm out. Please don't forget to hit that like button and take advantage of our Forex week. And I'm out. Peace.